agreed to pray for the purpose of the Father's Spirit to bless us tonight in the study of His Word. We always ask also for a blessing on the scattered people, because as the scripture says in many places, that the children of Israel, the Father's bloodline people, are scattered throughout the earth. And so we don't see all of them. We know they're there because the Bible says it, and we have seen evidences various times of them being all over the earth. But we always pray for the scattered, for the spiritual healing of the scattered nation of the Israelite people all over this planet. And so that's always, we always pray for that. And then as is our habit, if there's any other prayer requests, as we are bringing this petition to the Father, right, in a few minutes, a few seconds, and as we are bringing the Spirit, asking for the Spirit, we also want to bring other petitions that would rise up in the incense before the Messiah, any other requests that we might have, because again, as we are praying together, the Father will hear us. And He has heard many, many of our prayers as we have did this over the years. He have blessed us many, many times, many times. Again, I want to give a praise request, because I did get a job offer, a better, even I got a good job now, but I have an even better job that I was offered, and I accepted, and they're doing my background check. So I just want to continue to pray. I know it's the Father. If it's the Father's will, I'll be working there, but they've already given me the offer. I just want to continue to pray that my background check comes in okay, and that everything will work out fine in that regard. But we have been praying for that. I did pass the test that we prayed about. I do have another test in a few months to take, but that first one we prayed about, I did pass it. Praise Yah. And so we want to give the praise and the honor for that. Any other prayer requests or praise reports? Not all the time, no. Sometimes it takes years. It's in His time. And that's why the Bible does say, wait on Yahweh. And He said, those that wait on Him will never be ashamed, right? So He always tells us to wait on Him, because He doesn't always answer. In fact, most of the time He doesn't answer right away, although sometimes He does, but He doesn't always answer right away. Okay, let's see. Your brother's wife's mother. So that would be your brother's mother-in-law, right? Your brother's mother-in-law, and then Julie, okay, and then Daniel. Okay, so let's see. All right. And then okay, her name is Julia. Okay. Julie, sorry. Oh, how Daniel prayed. Yes. How Daniel prayed. That's right. That's exactly right. For the nation. That's exactly right. For the people as well as himself. That's exactly right. He definitely did. That's Daniel chapter 9. And yes, that's why we do these things, as well as, of course, how the Messiah taught us. And so we do that according to the word. Shabbat Shalom, Isha Tifo. We are taking prayer requests. Do you have any prayer requests before we start to pray and get started in our study? And speaking of that, I just wanted to ask that have you recovered from your surgery? Akath Tifo, did you recover? We prayed about the surgery that you had a while back. Hopefully that went all right. Praise Yah. Amen. See, that's another answered prayer. We give Him the praise for that. Okay. If there's no other prayer requests, let us get ready to pray, and then we can start our study. Heavenly Father, we give you the praise, the honor, and the glory as the creator of all things and the sustainer of all things, in the name of the Messiah, your only begotten Messiah, YHWH. As we get ready to go into your word, we ask that you would please bless us with your spirit of righteousness to guide us in your word, that your name would be uplifted and honored and given glory as Messiah also, who represents your righteousness. We pray for your scattered flock, the nation of your chosen people, Yahshua, all over the planet, that you would bring spiritual healing to your people, that it would hasten Messiah's return. We pray also for the special requested for Julie. Pray that your name would be uplifted and honored in Julie, and for all the requests that we have here, that we have taken so far this month, that your name would be glorified. In the name of the Messiah, YHWH, we pray. Amen. Okay. We praise the Most High Yah. Now, so we have been studying. Oh, by the way, I mentioned it before, but I want to mention it again. We have a website. We have a website, and Isha did put it together. And I'm typing it in the room right now. It's www, one word, raw Hebrew remnant.org. www.rawhebrewremnant.org. It's a simple website, really, but Sister did put all her effort and time into it, and we really appreciate that. And it has all of the Bible studies that we have done in terms of the books we have studied. It doesn't have all of our sermons there, but as far as study of specific books, which I think we have 8 or 9 of those, that's in there. Articles in there. How to contact us is in there. What we're about, frequently asked questions, all of that is in there. Yes, so praise the Most High Yah. Let us know what you think when you go to the website. Praise Yah. As normal, before we go into the scriptures, the actual scriptures, I want to do a little background. I want to point out some things. Let's take a look at some scriptures that we have read before, but let's read them again for the sake of what we're studying tonight. Let's look at Deuteronomy chapter 30, something we read often, Deuteronomy chapter 30. Let's look at Deuteronomy chapter 30, and I'm going to begin at verse 1, and I'm going to read down to verse 8. Deuteronomy chapter 30, verses 1 to 8, and we're going to really focus on verse 7 of this chapter today. Deuteronomy chapter 30, verses 1 through 8, and the focus is on verse 7. This is in preparation for Zechariah chapter 11. Let's take a look at this. And it shall come to pass, when all these things are come upon thee, the blessing and the curse which I have set before thee, and thou shalt call them to mind among all the nations, whither Yahweh thy Most High hath driven thee, and shalt return unto Yahweh thy Most High, and shalt obey his voice according to all that I command thee this day, thou and thy children, with all thy heart and with all thy soul, that then Yahweh thy Most High will turn thy captivity and have compassion upon thee, and will return and gather thee from all the nations, whither Yahweh thy Most High have scattered thee. If any of thine be driven out unto the outmost parts of heaven, from thence will Yahweh thy Most High gather thee, and from thence will he fetch thee. And Yahweh thy Most High will bring thee into the land which thy fathers possessed, and thou shalt possess it. And he will do thee good, and multiply thee above thy fathers. And Yahweh thy Most High will circumcise thine heart, and the heart of thy seed, to love Yahweh thy Most High with all thy heart and with all thy soul, that thou mayest live. And Yahweh thy Most High will put all these curses upon thine enemies, and on them that hate thee, which persecuted thee. And thou shalt return and obey the voice of Yahweh, and do all his commandments, which I command thee this day. this is also, we call this I like to call this the chapter of the awakening, because it says, it shall come to pass when all these things are come upon thee. So in other words, it's something in the future. And it talks about that in the future, it's going to come to mind to the chosen people, the blessing that they had and the curse that they had. And those two things will come to their mind, and it will cause them, when they awaken to these two things, to return to their God. And they'll be brought back together again by the Most High, because they would have been scattered all over the earth. And they would have been brought back together after they had been scattered. And then it says that all the curses that we received are going to go on our enemies. Okay, let's take another scripture about that. Let's take a look at another scripture about that. Jeremiah chapter 30. Jeremiah chapter 30. Let's see. Jeremiah chapter 30. I'm going to go from verse 1 and read down to verse 11. Jeremiah chapter 30 from verse 1 to verse 11, with the emphasis on verse 11. Jeremiah chapter 30 from 1 through 11. The word that came to Jeremiah from Yahweh, saying, Thus speaketh Yahweh Most High of Israel, saying, Write thee all the words that I have spoken unto thee in a book. For lo, the days come, saith Yahweh, that I will bring again the captivity of my people Israel and Judah, saith Yahweh. And I will cause them to return to the land that I gave to their fathers, and they shall possess it. And these are the words that Yahweh spake concerning Israel and Judah. For thus saith Yahweh, we have heard a voice of trembling, of fear, and not of peace. Ask ye now and see whether a man doth travail with child. Wherefore do I see every man with his hands on his loins as a woman in travail, and all faces are turned into paleness. Alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. For it shall come to pass in that day, saith Yahweh of hosts, that I will break his yoke from off thy neck, and will burst thy bonds, and strangers shall no more serve themselves of him. But they shall serve Yahweh their Most High, and David their king, whom I will raise up unto them. Therefore fear thou not, O my servant Jacob, saith Yahweh, neither be dismayed, O Israel, for lo, I will save thee from afar, and thy seed from the land of their captivity. And Jacob shall return, and shall be in rest, and be quiet, and none shall make him afraid. For I am with thee, saith Yahweh, to save thee. Though I make a full end of all nations, whither I have scattered thee, yet will I not make a full end of thee. But I will correct thee in measure, and will not leave thee altogether unpunished. So again, we can see here that the nations into which the Most High scatters his chosen people, he says he's going to make a full end of them. So in other words, there'll be a total destruction of all the nations where his people have been scattered. But he is not going to make total destruction of them, but he's going to correct them and not leave them unpunished, but he's going to totally destroy the nations into which they have been scattered. And of course, they, as we just read, not only have been scattered, but they hated us and they oppressed us. Why did I bring this up? Because we're going to read some things in Zechariah that were prophesied to happen to the nation of Israel. But I want us to keep in mind that everything that happens to Israel in turn, in the end time, will happen to the nations that oppress Israel. Y'all understand that? Testing 1, 2, 3. And I want to make sure we go and understand in terms of the time period of Zechariah. Zechariah was a prophet. Remember, Zechariah was a prophet of the rebuilding of the temple. Okay, so The temple had been destroyed when Daniel was taken captive, and when Ezekiel was taken captive, the temple was destroyed. But Zechariah comes when the temple is now going to be rebuilt. And he was there, of course, we know, with Haggai the prophet. He was there with Joshua the high priest and Zerubbabel the governor, if you recall. So all of these people were part of course, with Ezra and Nehemiah, of the rebuilding of the second temple of Israel. So now we also know that there is a third temple, which is the last temple. Let me ask you, here's a quiz question. What is the third temple? When is the third temple? What is the third and last temple? We know about the first one that Solomon built, was destroyed. This one, when Zechariah and the brothers were getting together, coming back after the 70-year Exodus to rebuild the second temple, there is a third temple. When is the third temple? It's the one that was made in heaven. Exactly. Let's take a look at that. Revelation chapter 21. Revelation chapter 21. Revelation 21. And let's read from verse 1, down to verse 5, to begin from verse 1 to 5, actually 1 to 7. Let's read from 1 to 7. The third temple. This is the last temple, the one that's coming next. And I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth were passed away, and there was no more sea. And I, Yochanan, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from Yah out of heaven, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. And I heard a great voice out of heaven saying, Behold, the tabernacle of Yah is with men, and he will dwell with them. And they shall be his people, and Yah himself shall be with them and be their most high. And Yah shall wipe away all tears from their eyes, and there shall be no more death, neither sorrow nor crime, neither shall there be any more pain, for the former things are passed away. And he that sat upon the throne said, Behold, I make all things new. And he said unto me, Write, for these words are true and faithful. And he said unto me, It is done. I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. I will give unto him that is athirst of the fountain of the water of life freely. He that overcometh shall inherit all things, and I will be his God, and he shall be my son. But the fearful, well, I didn't go that far yet. So we can see there's a new Jerusalem. We also know here from the same chapter that he describes the new Jerusalem and has 12 gates with the 12 tribes of the children of Israel written on the gates. It has 12 foundations with the 12 names of the apostles written on the foundations. And so we can see here, this is the new Jerusalem. This is the last temple. Let's read again about it, because the prophets all agree. So let's look at Isaiah chapter 65. Isaiah chapter 65. Notice what it says here, Isaiah 65. I'm going to read from verse 17. From verse 17, let's read down to verse 25. Isaiah chapter 65, from verse 17 to verse 25. Notice what it says here. For behold, I create new heavens and a new earth, and the former shall not be remembered nor come into mind. But be ye glad and rejoice forever in that which I create. For behold, I create Jerusalem a rejoicing, and her people a joy. And I will rejoice in Jerusalem and joy in my people. And the voice of weeping shall be no more heard in her, nor the voice of crying. There shall be no more thence an infant of days, nor an old man that hath not filled his days. For the child shall die 100 years old, but the sinner being 100 years old shall be accursed. And they shall build houses and inhabit them. And they shall plant vineyards and eat the fruit of them. They shall not build and another inhabit. They shall not plant and another eat. For as the days of a tree are the days of my people, and mine elect shall long enjoy the work of their hands. They shall not labor in vain, nor bring forth for trouble, for they are the seed of the blessed of Yahweh, and their offspring with them. And it shall come to pass that before they call, I will answer, and while they are yet speaking, I will hear. The wolf and the lamb shall feed together, and the lion shall eat straw like the bullock, and dust shall be the serpent's meat. They shall not hurt nor destroy in all my holy mountain, saith Yahweh. So again, same thing as what we read in Revelation. And he says, there are the seed of the blessed of the Lord, the seed of the blessed seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, right? So they are the blessed seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And they're going to be in a place that he says, I create Jerusalem. It's a new Jerusalem. So Solomon built the first one. Zechariah and the brothers built the second one, but the third one is built, and the last one is built by the Father. And so we can see there's a blessing coming. But I'm giving us the preview because we're going to read about the curses that's going to come on the nation of Israel, and we're going to read about an evil shepherd that Zechariah prophesies about, and that's what I wanted to stress, the amazing power of prophecy, in that Zechariah is building the second temple, and yet he's prophesying of a future in which his people are going to go into captivity, that they're going to be destroyed. He's preaching about a future in which the evil shepherd shall rise up. We're going to talk more about that as we read the word, but these things are happening. But as we read here, we have seen now all the evil that's going to come on Israel, or that has come on the chosen people, will be reversed on the nations that have oppressed them. Okay, will be reversed. All the curses that were on Israel are going to come on the people that oppressed them, on the people of the world. And we read, of course, in the book of Revelation about Babylon, about the beast, about the false prophet, right? And we read about all the heathen that came against the chosen people. So we're going to see that. But I wanted to preview what exactly, because the reason I'm bringing this out very carefully, because I want us to carefully read Zechariah chapter 11 and see everything that happens to the chosen people, because in everything that happens to the chosen people is what we already know is going to happen to the heathen at the end. Okay, everybody following me so far? So we see everything happening to the chosen people is going to happen to the people of the heathen at the end. And of course, we know, we're going to read a couple more verses regarding the curses of Israel, which we have read many times, but I just want to go through it again for those that may not be familiar, because again, through Christianity, we have been taught that there's two different gods, one of the Old Testament and one of the New Testament. And somehow one of the Old Testament was really mean, he's really dark, and and all of a sudden he lightens up and he puts his belt away in the New Testament, and it's a different God. So we almost like we have a born again God, but there's not two different gods. No, it's the same God, and he has chosen the same people, and he does not change. He is Alpha and Omega. And so let's read about that. Luke chapter 21, Messiah is prophesying about the bloodline nation of Israel again. Luke chapter 21. And let's begin, let's see, I'm going to begin at verse 19. And I'm going to read down to verse 24, 19 to 24. He tells the brethren, he's talking to his apostles here, and he says, in your patience possess ye your soul. And when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh. Then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains, and let them which are in the midst of it depart out, and let not them that are in the countries enter thereinto. For these be days of vengeance, that all things which are written may be fulfilled. But woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. For there shall be great distress in the land, and watch this, and wrath upon this people. And they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captive into all nations. and Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. So we can see here, again, he's prophesying about his own people and said they're going to be killed by the edge of the sword. And he places a woe on them that are having babies at that time. And he says they're going to be led away captive into all nations. And Jerusalem is going to be destroyed by the Gentiles until the time of the Gentiles is fulfilled. So we can see that this is already taking place, right? It's already taking place. And so now we're coming to the time when the times of the Gentiles shall be fulfilled. Someone asked, when is the times of the Gentiles fulfilled? And my answer is, you know, the time of the Gentiles is fulfilled, listen carefully, when the 7 last plagues begin to fall. Their time is fulfilled. Testing 1, 2, 3. Because prior to the falling of the 7 last plagues, an important event takes place that's not going to be televised. Gil Scott-Heron was right. I don't know if you've ever heard of Gil Scott-Heron. He was an artist, a singer, songwriter from the 60s and 70s. And he did a song that said, the revolution will not be televised. I don't know if you've ever heard that. I'm a little older, so I remember it. Gil Scott-Heron, the revolution will not be televised. Well, let me tell you, the overthrow of Babylon and of this earth's powers will not be televised. And so the 144,000 will bring forth a message. That message is recorded in Revelation chapter 14, as well as Revelation chapter 18. And the message is a message that says, come out of her, my people, that ye not be partakers of her sins, that ye be not partakers of her plagues. So there's obviously a message that is a preceding the plagues. It's a message that precedes the plagues, a message of warning that comes right before the plagues fall. And so you'll know it because you'll hear it. If you're seeking truth, the power of the message, you will hear it. And that's the message that is also the signal of the times of the Gentiles being fulfilled. Now, it's not fulfilled in just one day. See, most times prophecy doesn't happen like this, like in one day. What it does is it happens like a changing of the seasons. Like you see a sign, for example, in the United States of America, it's now we're into autumn. And you start to see the signs of autumn. You see in some places the leaves change colors, leaves fall off trees, right? And the weather starts to change. It doesn't happen in one day. It's a slow change. August is hot, then September is warm, right? And then it starts to change. And at the end of September, you're starting to see leaves changing colors and it starts to change. And then all of a sudden you're in the middle of it and it just happened. It happened gradually, right? So as the times of the Gentiles are fulfilled, you will see a gradual rising of the Israelite people. You will see a gradual awakening of the Israelite people. You will see them start to preach about the awakening, about who they are, about, as the Bible says, it shall come to pass when all these things have come upon thee, the blessing and the curse, and thou shalt call them to mind. So you'll start hearing about the blessings and the curses and how they got into the situation from different ages, different instruments the Most High will raise up and bring, and you'll start to see the tide changing. You'll start to see the Gentiles declining in power, declining in spirit, declining in numbers. You start to see it slowly. And then you'll start to see also natural events that take place that are coming upon the earth, upon which man can do nothing about. And we like to see it. We show it in terms of the gradual change in the weather. You can see intensity of earthquakes in multiple of them. Intensity of forest fires and multiple, intensity of floods, intensity of tornadoes, right? Intensity of hurricanes. You're starting to see these things. The birth rates declining among the Gentiles, birth rates declining in a major way upon the Gentiles. You see it. So you're seeing already a change. And this will continue. This is going to continue. There'll be more and more power placed in the mouths and in the spirits of the true Israelite people. You'll hear more and more of their power. The false Israelites, the false Ashkenazis and the powers of the Gentiles, their power is based, listen carefully, their power is based in deception. And the greatest deception, you'll see one of the great examples of their deception is the television. Testing 1, 2, 3. Are you following me? One of the great examples of deception is the television. Why do I say that? Because you and I know very well that when the news is on, they're doing something to you. When you're listening to the news, what are they doing to you? When you listen to the news, I don't care if it's Fox or MSNBC or CBS, or what are they doing to you when you're listening to the news? What is happening to you? What are they doing? Testing, can you hear me? Testing 1, 2, 3. What are they doing? When you're listening to the news, testing 1, 2, 3, can you all hear me? That's right. They are lying to you and they are brainwashing you. That's exactly right. So the news is always lying to you. And wait a minute, most people believe it. Correct? Most people believe it. Isn't that right? Most people believe it. That's the power of deception being foisted upon us. So most people believe the lies that are being propagated through the medium of television, the medium of radio, the medium of Hollywood, right? So that's one of their, that's a power of deception. Okay, power of deception. Okay, they call it a program, right? When you're watching television, don't they call it a television program, right? So it's part of the deception, and it continues in various areas of politics, especially religion. We know religion is a major way in which people are brainwashed. For example, I was thinking of one ridiculous thing that a Southern Christian from the Gentiles actually said. They asked him about abortion in case of rape. And he said, and his answer was, this was a politician that was a quote unquote good Christian. And he said, well, if it's a legitimate rape, the woman's body have a function that it can shut the whole thing down so that it won't get pregnant. That's what he said. He said, the woman's body have a way of shutting the whole thing down. Isn't that ridiculous? So he's saying, if it's first, he's trying to say, if it's a legitimate rape, she won't get pregnant because her body has a way of shutting down the pregnancy. That's what he said. Now, what aside from how ridiculous that was, right? What really scary is that there will be tens of thousands of people that will believe that. You hear me? There'll be tens of thousands of people that will believe what he just said. Okay? So that's the scary thing. So I'm using that to say through religion, it's another way of programming people. Okay? So you're seeing these things as part of the signs of the eventual destruction and the times of the Gentiles being fulfilled. Okay? Upon the Gentiles being fulfilled. Okay. So now let's go to Zechariah chapter 11. Let's take a look at Zechariah chapter 11. We read first 10 chapters of Zechariah. We've been getting a blessing. And as I said, Zechariah is a prophet of the building of the second temple. And yet his prophecies cover the past, the present, and the future, right? His prophecies that were given to this prophet cover the past, the present, and the future, right? Like all the prophets. So let's take a look at Zechariah chapter 11. Let's start Zechariah chapter 11. I'm going to begin at verse 1. And let's start at verse 1 and go down to verse 6. Zechariah chapter 11, verses 1 to 6. Open thy doors, O Lebanon, that the fire may devour thy cedars. Howl, fir tree, for the cedar is fallen, because the mighty are spoiled. Howl, O ye oaks of Bashan, for the forest of the vintage is come down, and there is a voice of the howling of the shepherds, for their glory is spoiled. A voice of roaring of young lions, for the pride of Jordan is spoiled. Thus saith Yahweh, my Most High, feed the flock of the slaughter, whose possessors slay them and hold themselves not guilty. That they that sell them say, blessed be Yahweh, for I am rich, and their own shepherds pity them not. For I will no more pity the inhabitants of the land, saith Yahweh. But lo, I will deliver the men, every one into his neighbor's hand and into the hand of his king. And they shall smite the land, and out of their hand I will not deliver them. Let's stop right here. So he's talking about Israel here. And he's saying he's allowing the shepherds to slaughter them. Who are the shepherds? These are the religious leaders, the religious leaders of the nation, and the political leaders, the royalty of the nation. They were leading the nation to destruction with falsehood, right, and deception to control the minds of the nation in evil. Testing 1, 2, 3. Are you following me? Does that sound familiar to you? Where you have both political and religious deception, whose deception causes the people propagating the error to enrich themselves and bless themselves while destroying the people that they're supposed to be leading. Does that sound familiar? See, this is what happened in ancient Israel, right? And then he said about the ancient people, he said, for I will no more have pity upon the inhabitants of the land. In other words, I'm going to let these false shepherds and these false leaders lead you to destruction. I'm going to let it happen. I'm not going to have any pity. I will deliver the men, everyone into his neighbor's hand, into the hand of his king. They shall smite the land, and out of their hand I will not deliver them. So I'm gonna have the land be smitten, and I'm not gonna let you be delivered. Because why? Because you loved a lie. Wait a minute. Because you loved a lie. Because you love deception. Does that sound familiar? Where have we heard that before? Because you loved a lie and you love deception, I'm going to let these people lead you that way. Where have we heard that before? Wait a minute. I think we have heard it in 2 Thessalonians. I think we have. I think we have heard it in 2 Thessalonians. Let's take a look. 2 Thessalonians, the second letter of the Hebrew apostle Shaul called Paul to the Thessalonians. Let's take a look at this. Because in this book, he's also going to mention the shepherd that Zechariah is going to mention, a foolish shepherd. He's going to mention him in 2 Thessalonians. And as we said, what happened to the nation of our fathers, the ancient Israelites, before their destruction and their captivity is going to happen to the heathen today. Okay, so all the curses of ancient Israel is going to come on the heathen in Babylon at the end. Remember that? So let's take a look at that. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2. It's going to start at verse 3 and go down to verse 12. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 from verse 3 to verse 12. Watch what it says. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, that the man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition, who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called Yah, or that is worshipped, so that he, as a most high, sitteth in the temple of the Most High, showing himself that he is the Most High. Remember ye not that when I was yet with you, I told you these things? And now ye know what withholdeth, that he might be revealed in his time. For the mystery of iniquity doth already work. Only he who now letteth will let, until he be taken out of the way. And then shall that wicked be revealed, whom Yahweh shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming, even him whose coming is after the working of Asatan, with all powers and signs and lying wonders, and with all deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish. Because, why? Because they receive not the love of the truth, that they might be saved. And for this cause, Yah shall send them strong delusion, that they should believe a lie, that they all might be damned, who believed not the truth, but had pleasure in unrighteousness. So, as it's going to happen at the end, so it happened to our people in the beginning. At the end, an evil shepherd will raise up. Who is this evil shepherd? This is representing the Pope of Rome and the Catholic Church. Now, notice what it said. It said, he who now letteth will let until he be taken out of the way. Verse 7. Some people get confused about that. Let me explain briefly what that means. At the time of the writing of 2 Thessalonians, in the time of the life of the Apostle Paul in the first century, there was the Roman Empire was in power, and it was nearing the end of its power, the last few decades of its power. And so the Roman Empire, under the emperors from Caesar all the way through to Constantine, was going to change, as the Bible showed. It was going to be different from all other empires in that all the empires were simply political in nature in terms of its worldwide influence and power. But Rome was going to change into a religious influence. That's why he says, he who now letteth will let until he be taken out of the way. What does that mean? It means the political and military power of Rome was going to be replaced by a religious power that's going to exercise the same authority. Testing 1, 2, 3. Are you following me? So he's predicting the rise of what would later become the Roman Catholic Church. He makes this prediction in several places. Let's look at another one. 1 Timothy. 1 Timothy. Many people use 1 Timothy as a reason to disobey the law of the Most High in terms of eating and drinking, in terms of the laws of clean and unclean foods. But 1 Timothy is actually talking about the rise of the Catholic Church, as you will see. Notice 1 Timothy chapter 4, from verse 1 down to verse 5. 1 Timothy chapter 4, from verse 1 down to verse 5. Notice what it says. Now the Spirit speaketh expressly that in the latter times, that's where we live, some shall depart from the faith, giving heed to seducing spirits and doctrines of devils, speaking lies in hypocrisy, having their conscience seared with a hot iron. Watch this, forbidding to marry, and commanding to abstain from meats which Yah hath created to be received with thanksgiving of them which believe and know the truth. For every creature of Yah is good and nothing to be refused, if it be received with thanksgiving, for it is sanctified by the word of Yah and prayer. First of all, those last words in chapter 5 kind of tells you what kind of food it's talking about, because the Bible shows us which food has been sanctified by the word of Yah and prayer, right? It tells us in Deuteronomy chapter 14 which foods have been, the word sanctified means to be set apart. Which foods were set apart by the word of Yah? It tells you that. So there's going to come a religious power that tells some of its people not to marry, and tell you to abstain from certain foods. Like on Friday, you shouldn't eat certain foods. What church does that? Speaking lies to the point where they have no conscience about the lies that they speak. No conscience at all. They can speak them as if they're true. That's right. There's only one church that fits that description. See? So the apostle, again, is prophesying what Daniel prophesied about, what Messiah warned us about. Messiah called the Roman Catholic Church the abomination that maketh desolate. That's what he calls it. And all the Christians that are Christian churches today are basically offshoots of what was the Catholic Church, because, as we said before, all the Protestant or so-called formerly Protestant churches broke out of the Roman Catholic Church. And that's why you'll see Rome saying to them, come back home, come back to mother. That's what they'll say. They've had their representatives saying that for years. Come back to mother. Because and that's why after the Second Vatican Council of 1961 to 1963, they made it so that churches can call themselves anything they want. But the object is to make all the churches believe that they're serving the same God, which they are, Asatan, and that they can call themselves Baptist, Roman Catholic, or SDA, as long as they all honor the supremacy of the Pope of Rome, and they all do. They all do. Okay, there's no more protest. So The apostle was a prophet, and he was also speaking prophecy as long as other prophets, and as Messiah taught us. So now we can see that the Israelite people, because of their apostasy, was given over to false shepherds until the time came when they actually slayed Messiah. They actually slayed Messiah. Where Daniel was saying you have 490 years to prepare for the return, for the first advent or the first appearance of Messiah in Jerusalem. Because of the false shepherds, they actually ended up killing Messiah. Killing Messiah. As Zechariah chapter 11 is going to discuss. And this is another sad thing, because Zechariah, again, was part of a time of hope. He was part of a time of hope in that he was partaking in the rebuilding of the second temple. Daniel was shown they would rebuild this temple again. He was also shown Messiah was going to return. He was also shown they were going to kill Messiah. He was also shown that their second temple was going to be destroyed. He showed all of that in Daniel chapter 9. And that's all that did happen. But as I wanted to break forth earlier, was I wanted to share with you, the bread I wanted to break off for you was that everything that you've seen happen to our fathers is going to happen to the heathen at the end. 2 Thessalonians just showed us that the people are going to be given strong delusion. This is where we live right now. Right now, people are being given strong delusion. They're not believing that. They're not remembering Messiah as a Hebrew man that died for the nation of Israel. They're bringing Messiah forth as a Caucasian Gentile man that died for Gentiles primarily. In fact, some of them believe that there's no more bloodline of Abraham, which would be impossible, wouldn't it? Wouldn't it? Abraham's going to have a bloodline. Right? Once he started, just in terms of simple biology, if Abraham had children, and he's going to have a bloodline that's going to go on, like, unless the Most High cuts off all of his children, right? Which he didn't do. He's going to have a bloodline. So, people are going to be of the bloodline of Abraham, right? Right? So you're not going to have any replacement for that bloodline because it's going to exist all the way to the end. It's not going to be cut off. Okay? And that exists today. And it's not the Europeans that are now occupying space that doesn't belong to them. Let's continue. Zechariah chapter 11. Let's look at verse 7. Zechariah chapter 11, verse 7. And I will feed the flock of slaughter, even you, O poor of the flock. And I took unto me 2 staves. The one I called beauty, and the other I called bands, and I fed the flock. Now, at this point, sometimes when you read, for example, when you read Psalms, let me show you. Sometimes the prophet starts to write, okay? And at some point during his writing, the father takes over. And he starts speaking in the first person. In this case, he starts speaking in the first person about Messiah. Let me give you an example of this so you don't think that I'm totally crazy. It happens in several places, but one of the places that come to my mind right now is Psalms 32. Let's take a quick look at Psalms 32 because I want to show you, because this is about to happen here in Zechariah. And I want you to understand what's going on. So Psalms 32, right? So Psalms 32. Let's read Psalms 32. We're going to come right back. I just want to show you how this works. Psalms 32, I'm going to read from verse 1 to verse 6. Actually, 1 to 7. Psalm 32, 1 to 7. Blessed is he whose transgression is forgiven, whose sin is covered. This is David writing right here. Blessed is the man unto whom Yahweh imputeth not iniquity, in whose spirit there is no guile. When I kept silence, my bones waxed old through my roaring all the day long. For day and night thy hand was heavy upon me. My moisture is turned into drought of summer. I acknowledged my sin unto thee, and mine iniquity have I not hid. I said, I will confess my transgressions unto Yahweh, and thou forgavest the iniquity of my sin. For this shall everyone that is godly pray unto thee in the time when thou mayest be found. Surely in the floods of great waters they shall not come nigh unto him. Thou art my hiding place. Thou shalt preserve me from trouble. Thou shalt compass me about with songs of deliverance. So you see, David is writing here, and he's writing, and he's almost like he's writing to the Most High, and he's writing about himself. Testing, you got me right there? So he's writing to, and he's writing about himself. He's like giving a testimony of his experience. But then watch what happens in verse 8 of Psalms 32. Watch what happened in verse 8 of Psalms 32. Actually, verse 8 and 9. Watch this. Somebody takes over. It's the Spirit, and it's the Most High taking over the writing here. I will instruct thee and teach thee in the way which thou shalt go. I will guide thee with mine eye. Be ye not as the horse or as the mule, which have no understanding, whose mouth must be held in with bit and bridle, lest they come near unto thee. You see, so now David is saying, I'm blessed with my iniquities forgiven. And then the Most High says, I will instruct you and teach you in the way you should go. Don't be stubborn like a horse that has to have a bridle in his mouth to be pulled here or there. No, listen to me when I'm talking to you. You see that? So it's like the Most High takes over and answers David in the middle of the song. Well, see, that happens a few times in the scripture, and it's going to happen right here in Zechariah chapter 11. That's why I wanted y'all to see that. I want y'all to see an example of that, so that when it happens here in Zechariah, you know what I'm saying, you see what's going on. Okay, so let's go back to Zechariah. So now, verse 7, Messiah, what we just read, verse 7 of Zechariah 11, Messiah is speaking, and he said, I took unto me two staffs. Because remember, Messiah is called what? The good shepherd. Isn't that right? He's the great shepherd of the flock. Isn't that what Messiah is? Messiah is the shepherd of the flock. So he says, I took unto me two staves. And one of the staves was called beauty, and the other was called bands. Okay, that's Zechariah chapter 11, verse 7. So now, testing 1, 2, 3. Can y'all hear me? Testing 1, 2, 3. Make sure, man. I think I'm frozen. Okay, I was frozen. Yeah, when I'm saying, Josie, I always remember when I'm in Hangouts is always good. Usually it's in Power Talk that we have the issues. Okay. Yeah, so okay. Now Messiah starts to speak, and he had two staffs or two shepherd's rods, right? One for beauty, one called beauty, and one called bands. The one beauty that's called is what you think it is in the Hebrew. It's beautiful, something bright. Right. And the one called bands means to be tied together tightly. So he had two staves to which he was guiding the people. It was a banding together of the people, or a binding together, and he was bringing beauty to them. That's what the Most High intention was for the chosen people, to bind them together as one, right? And to beautify his people with his righteousness. Everybody got me so far? So to beautify his people and to bind them together by his spirit, by his righteousness. And brothers and sisters, you know, when you hear people talk about we need to be unified, I can get with that. I'd like to be unified. But the thing that will unify the chosen people is the Father's spirit of righteousness. That's what unifies us. Truth and righteousness unify us. If we are focused on the Father's spirit of truth and righteousness, we don't even have to try. We'll be unified. You understand? We don't have to try to be unified. We'll be unified. Okay? Will be unified. That's why in Psalm 33, it says, or Psalm 133, it says, blessed are they, brothers that dwell together in unity. And in that same little short psalm, it talks about the ointment, the oil. He said it's like the oil that flowed down the head in the beard of Aaron that brought life everlasting. See, because that's the oil representing the spirit. That's what brings unity. The spirit of the Father brings unity. When everybody is focused on receiving Father's righteousness through Messiah, we are automatically unified. We don't even have to try. Just like if you ever met somebody that believes like you believe, you are automatically brothers and sisters. You don't even have to try. The fact that you are seeking the same spirit causes you to be brothers and sisters. Right. So I understand when I hear people saying, well, we need to stop all this bickering and unify. I know that they want that to happen, but it will only happen when all people that are seeking to be unified are under the same spirit. It will not happen. And that's what's going on. The reason we're not completely unified is because we're not all completely seeking the Father's spirit. Everybody's got agendas, but don't worry about it. Remember what Ezekiel said, I'm going to purge the rebels out from among you. That's what he's doing. He's going to purge the rebels out from among you. So we don't have to worry about that. So all we have to do is seek the Father's spirit. Those that are seeking it will be unified. It's going to happen. Okay. So now he said, I call one beauty, which make it bright, and one bands binding together. So he said, I was trying to lead my people in brightness of righteousness and in binding them together under the same spirit. But no, it didn't work. People didn't want to listen. Listen here. Zechariah chapter 11, verse 8. Let's go from verse 8 down to verse 11. There it is, 8 through 11. I notice a lot of important scriptures are from verses 8 to 11. I don't know why that is, but here it is again. 3 shepherds also I cut off in 1 month, and my soul loathed them, and their soul also abhorred me. Then said I will not feed you. That dieth, let it die. And that is to be cut off, let it be cut off. And let the rest eat every one the flesh of another. And I took my staff, even beauty, and cut it asunder, that I might break my covenant, which I had made with all people. And also was broken in that day, so that the poor of the flock that waited upon me knew that it was the word of Yahweh. So wait a second. So he cut beauty, so they were no more being led by the brightness of the Father's righteousness. He said the shepherds. He said I don't know why he used the number 3. I'm not gonna guess. I don't know why he used the number 3. But he said 3 shepherds also I cut off in 1 month. My soul loathed them, and their soul also abhorred me. You see, brothers and sisters, this is deep. People that preach falsehood. I know this is gonna be hard, but I gotta speak the truth. People that speak falsehood in the face of truth hate the Father. They hate him. That's why the Father says that they worship the dragon in Revelation chapter 13. And they worship the beast and they worship the dragon. You see, brothers and sisters, Messiah said, he that's not with me is against me. Not every one of us is on the same spot or the same part of the road to righteousness. But those of us that are on the road are on the road. We're seeking truth and we're seeking righteousness, and we'll go after it wherever it leads us. Testing 1, 2, 3. So wherever the Spirit leads us to go, that's where we will go. Just like them 4 horses will go, just like the 4 beasts. The Bible says that Ezekiel said they go wherever the Spirit led them to go, and that's just us that's following after the Father's Spirit. If the Father's Spirit I'm telling you, if the Father's Spirit led me into XYZ Sunday church or XYZ denomination, I will go because I want to go where the Father Spirit lead me. You understand? And okay, but I'm not going to resist the Father Spirit to do my will, because then if I'm resisting the Father enough and I start speaking against what he tells me to speak, now I'm hating the Father. Now I'm his enemy. You understand? And you never want to be the Father's enemy. But brothers and sisters, all these false teachers out here that are teaching deception, that are teaching lies, that are teaching denominationalism, that are teaching structured, organized religion, they hate the Father because they're not being led by his Spirit. They're being led by Satan to deceive people. Okay, and we tell you the signs. One of the obvious signs is when they start begging you for money, right? Please give to this ministry. We would not resist without your faithful support. What they're really saying to you is the God that blesses them is money. Testing 1, 2, 3. Are you hear what I'm saying? Because if it was the Father's Spirit, they wouldn't be begging you for no money. They wouldn't have to if it was the Father's Spirit. Father's Spirit don't need US dollar bills. Exactly. It's a sign. Same sign, same sign. Okay, same sign. So I always say either they are deceiving people or they themselves are being deceived and have not grown to the point where they understand what I just said. You understand? Because brothers and sisters, there was a time when our ministry asked for money. I mean, we didn't actually ask for it. People actually gave to us, right? We never actually asked, but we believe we could receive it. But we didn't really ask for money, but we were receiving money from people at one point. But we never did ask, actually, as I think about it. I can't tell you a lot. We never did ask for it. People just started giving. But now I purposely tell people, if you look at our website, www.rawhebrewremnant.org, you will see that we say we don't accept any donations because money has corrupted the religious world. We don't want people giving any money. Okay, we're not rich. We definitely not rich. Most time we poor. But I'm just saying to you, it's so corrupting right? It's one of the corrupting things of these last days, money, especially when regard to religion. So he said, my soul loathed them and their soul abhorred me. See, people don't like to think of the Most High in terms of actually disliking or hating people. But he said it right here. My soul loathed them and their soul abhorred me. He said it. He said, Jacob have I loved, Esau I hated. Why don't people want to read that? It's plainly written. Okay. And in the prophecy about Messiah, he said, when he said he was hung up on the cross in Psalm 22, he said, dogs have surrounded me. So all them people running around talking about wagging their heads, talking about he saved others himself. He said those were dogs. Now, I'm not saying we should go around calling people dogs or hating people, but I just want you to understand the Most High does dislike some human beings. All right, I think, okay, there's some human, and he said here, there's shepherds he dislikes. There's false shepherds he dislikes. And notice what happens. What happens to people that listen to false shepherds that are bored of Most High because they're not giving? See, brothers and sisters, there's a difference. Really what it boils down to is sincerity. Really, really. Sincerity and honesty. That's what it boils down to. In other words, a man that's out here preaching what he honestly and sincerely believes is the truth versus a man that knows he's deceiving the people. That knows very well he don't care about the people he's asking for money from. That they're just a means to an end. The Most High hates these people. He abhors them. Okay? And it shouldn't be no surprise because he abhorred his own people at one point. Here it is right here. And then he said, then I said, I will not feed you. Listen here, verse 9. Isha, can you print verse 9 again, please? Just verse 9. Watch verse 9. Zechariah chapter 11, verse 9. Watch this. Then said I, that is Messiah, I will not feed you. That dieth, let it die. And that is to be cut off, let it be cut off. And let the rest eat everywhere in the flesh of another. Now, we have heard this before. Yes, we have. We've heard something very similar. Now, not exactly these exact words, but remember what we said in the beginning of this lesson tonight. We said whatever happened to the ancient Hebrews and whatever happened to y'all's chosen is going to flip and happen to the heathen. And didn't I say that in the beginning? Didn't we read it? He said, the curses that I placed on you, I'm going to place on those that hate you. I'm not going to make a full end of you, but the places where you've been scattered, I'll make a full end of all of them. And there's many other scriptures to that effect. So what is similar? He said, I will not feed you. That dieth, let it die. That is cut off, let it be cut off. Where did we read that before? We've read that. Very similar. That's going to happen to the heathen. Very, very similar. Where did we read it? Let me give it to you. Revelation chapter 22. Back to the book of Revelation, chapter 22. Revelation. I want to show you. See, I just love how the prophets all testify about the book of Revelation. See, that's why a lot of these heathen, they'll never come to the understanding of Revelation. Never, because they don't understand how the prophets testify about Revelation. See, they're looking at the New Testament. They're New Testament Christians. They don't understand. The prophets testify about Revelation. All right. So let's take a look. Revelation chapter 22. Revelation chapter 22. Let us read verse 9 and verse 10 and 11 of Revelation chapter 22. Watch this now. Watch the similarity to what we just read there in Zechariah 11:9. And he saith unto me, seal not the sayings of the prophecy of this book, for the time is at hand. He that is unjust, let him be unjust still. And he which is filthy, let him be filthy still. And he that is righteous, let him be righteous still. And he that is holy, let him be holy still. See that? So now in Revelation, he's saying there's going to come a time where whatever condition you are, I'm going to just leave you like that. That's it. I'm done working with you. I'm done with you. My spirit can't work with you anymore. It's not going to strive with you anymore. If you unjust, you're going to remain that way. If you filthy, you're going to remain that way. If you righteous, you're going to remain that way. That means my spirit has worked with you and now it's going to rest on you forever. See what I'm saying? So there's people I'm done with you. And then there's people like, I'm sealing you. Well, back here in Zechariah chapter 11, verse 9, that died, let it die. That has to be cut off, let it be cut off. And let the rest eat each other. I'm going to cause y'all to, my spirit is withdrawn. If you're supposed to die, you're going to die. You're supposed to fall by the sword, it's going to happen. You're going to cut off, that's going to happen. And the rest, you're going to even hate each other. Now, let me ask you, do black people hate each other? Do we have a history of hating each other? Cutting each other up? Shooting each other? Killing each other? Drive-by killing each other? Do we have a history of that? Yes, we do. Why is that? Prophesied. It's prophesied. All prophesied, brothers and sisters. And now, I think you're going to see, I believe, you're going to see as part of the awakening, that's going to slow down. You're going to start seeing that reverse. You're going to see more of the chosen people wake up and realize we shouldn't be killing each other. Most of them are going to realize, like Malcolm X realized, no, we shouldn't be doing that to each other. Malcolm X could have prevented his own death. Do you know that? He knew that they were going to kill him. He knew that. And he told the bodyguards at the door, don't check anybody for guns. He could have checked, he could have had everybody that walked into that Audubon ballroom check for guns. But he said he was so caring about his people. He said, you know what? I don't care if they're going to kill me. My brothers are going to kill me. I'm going to let them kill me. See, that's what Messiah said when he said, turn the other cheek. He was talking about how we treat each other too, as brothers and sisters. Don't hate each other. And Malcolm X had that part. He's like, look, let them come in. If they're going to kill me, they're going to kill me. I ain't afraid to die. Let them shoot me. He told him, don't check him for guns. That's why the brothers were able to come in there with guns and kill him. Okay? So he said, Messiah said, I'm gonna let y'all eat each other's flesh. That is what's happening. But brothers and sisters, praise y'all. It's going to turn. And now you're already seeing. Wait. Now let's tell the truth and shame the devil, right? Look, watch. Most of the people that receive welfare today are Caucasian. I know they like to put in the media, they're always showing black and Hispanic people receiving it. But the majority of people that receive welfare are Caucasian people. The majority of people that are hooked on opioids are Caucasian people. Okay? It's already happening. See, it's already happening. I'm just saying, you're seeing a reversal of what they tried to put on us coming back on them. You see the reversal. It's already started. Okay? Already started. So I'm just showing you how what happened to us is going to now happen to the heathen. Okay? It happened to us. It's going to happen to the heathen. I took my staff, even beauty, and cut it and sunder, that I might break my covenant, which I have made with all the people. So now his spirit is withdrawing from the people. Okay? He's allowing them to go through what he prophesied they're going to go through. Okay? The curse going to come upon them. Brothers and sisters, I think we understand that. The curse has come upon us. There's no question about it. But the hope is that now that we are awakening, the curse is going to come on our enemies. Okay? Okay, look. Watch this now. Zechariah chapter 11. Let's read from verse 12. From verse 12 and down to verse 14. From 12 to 14. Zechariah chapter 11. 12 to 14. And I said unto them, this is Messiah speaking, if ye think good, give me my price. If not, forbear. So they weighed for my price 30 pieces of silver. And Yahweh said unto me, cast it into the potter, a goodly price that I was prized at of them. And I took the 30 pieces of silver and cast them to the potter in the house of Yahweh. Then I cut asunder my other staff, even bands, that I might break the brotherhood between Judah and Israel. Now, wait a second. Wait a second now. We know that Judah was scattered last, Israel was scattered first, and the hope was that they would be brought back together. Well, now they're going to be scattered for a while. A long time, Daniel said. The time is long, 2,300 years. Okay, the time is long. And what? How much did we prize Messiah? 30 pieces of silver. That's what it was. Isn't that what Judas? And what did Judas do? Judas took the 30 pieces of silver and went to the temple and told the scribes and Pharisees, I have sinned and I have betrayed the innocent blood. And he threw the 30 pieces of silver down in the temple. That's what he did, just like the prophecy said. That's what he did. Just like it said. And then they took the 30 pieces of silver and they bought a field. And it was called the field of blood. It was a potter's field they brought. It was called the field of blood unto this day, the Bible said. So this is a prophecy of Messiah. And because the spirit of the Father was withdrawn from the people, because they were being led by false shepherds, they fulfilled this prophecy. Oh, it's going to happen, going to happen. Okay, it's going to happen. Every word of the Most High comes to pass. So it was going to happen. And he broke the brotherhood, which means Judah and Israel hate each other. They eat each other's flesh. They hate each other. We don't have love for each other. We hate each other. But again, the hope, brothers and sisters, is as we are awakening and receiving the Father's Spirit, unity will happen. I know that sounds crazy, but I think y'all understand what I'm saying. The Father's Spirit brings unity. Okay, it brings unity. And when his spirit is resting on his people, it brings unity. First, starting with the shepherds that he's raising up, that he promised he was going to raise up with his spirit. The spirit come from the shepherds. The people hearing the spirit that are looking for the truth will come to the spirit and will bring unity among the people. That's what's happening right now as I'm speaking to you. There are people being raised up all over this globe. We don't know each other. We never met each other, both apart. But people are being raised up all over this globe to bring forth a message of truth and righteousness for the chosen. And that brings unity. So that beauty and bands are going to be brought back together. And you recall that Ezekiel prophesied about the two sticks being brought back together. And he called it what? He called it Ephraim and he called it Judah, right? He said the northern and southern kingdom are going to be brought back together. And that was after Ezekiel prophesied and the wind came and raised up the dry bones. Remember that? The wind being what? The wind being the Father's Spirit raised up the dry bones and the two brought back together. See, that's the end part. This right here, what we saw right here, this is what happened, after the second temple was destroyed. Okay, after the second temple was destroyed. Let's look at that Ezekiel thing just for the sake of just completion here, being thorough with this thing. So notice Ezekiel chapter 37. Now we know Ezekiel was prophesied to the wind, right? Notice again, Ezekiel chapter 37. And let's go from verse 1 to 11, Ezekiel 37, 1 to 11. The hand of Yahweh was upon me, and he carried me out in the spirit of Yahweh. So notice again, this is all of the Father's Spirit, and caused me to pass by them round about. And behold, there were very many in the, in the spirit. And I didn't finish verse 1. And set me down in the midst of the valley, which was full of bones, and caused me to pass by them round about. And behold, there were very many in the open valley, and lo, they were very dry. And he said unto me, Son of man, can these bones live? That's us. Can these bones live? And I answered, Most High Yahweh, thou knowest. Again he said unto me, Prophesy upon these bones, and say unto them, O ye dry bones, hear the word of Yahweh. Then saith the Most High Yahweh unto these bones. Thus saith the Most High Yahweh unto these bones, Behold, I will cause breath to enter into you, and ye shall live. And I will lay sinews upon you, and will bring up flesh upon you, and cover you with skin, and put breath in you, and ye shall live. And ye shall know that I am, or Ahia Yahweh. So I prophesied as I was commanded. And as I prophesied, there was a noise. And behold, a shaking. And bones came together, bone to his bone. And when I beheld, lo, the sinews and the flesh came up upon them. And the skin covered them above, but there was no breath in them. Then said he unto me, Prophesy unto the wind. Prophecy, son of man, and say to the wind, Thus saith the Most High Yahweh, come from the four winds, O breath, and breathe on these slain, that they may live. So I prophesied as he commanded. And the breath came into them, and they lived, and stood up upon their feet, an exceeding great army. Then he said unto me, Son of man, these bones are the whole house of Israel. Behold, they say our bones are dry, and our hope is lost. We are cut off for our part. See, he brought back by his breath, by his spirit, the whole house of Israel. See? So as he removes his breath and we are cut off, he's going to bring back the breath and we're going to be reborn. Praise Yah. The Spirit brings the unity. The Spirit brings us together. The Spirit brings us back to where he intends us to be. Notice again, from verse 12. Ezekiel chapter 37 from verse 12 down to verse 18, from verse 12 to verse 18, Ezekiel 37. Therefore prophesy and say unto them, thus saith the Most High Yahweh, behold, O my people, I will open your graves and cause you to come up out of your graves and bring you into the land of Israel. And ye shall know that I am Yahweh when I have opened your graves, O my people, and brought you up out of your graves. Then shall put my spirit in you, and ye shall live. And I shall place you in your own land. Then shall ye know that I, Yahweh, have spoken it and performed it, saith Yahweh. The word of Yahweh came again unto me, saying, moreover, thou son of man, take thee one stick and write upon it for Judah and for the children of Israel, his companions. Then take another stick and write upon it for Joseph, the stick of Ephraim, and for all the house of Israel, his companions. And join them one to another into one stick, and they shall become one in my hand. And when the children of thy people shall speak unto thee, saying, wilt thou not show us what thou meanest by these? See, so he's taken two sticks. He's taken Judah and he's taken Ephraim. One for the northern kingdom, one for the southern kingdom. And he's bringing them back together, right? That's the Spirit bringing them back together. Testing 1, 2, 3. The Spirit bringing them back together. Verse 19, let's read from verse 19 down to verse 23. Say unto them, thus saith the Most High Yahweh, behold, I will take the stick of Joseph, which is in the hand of Ephraim, and the tribes of Israel, his fellows, and will put them with him, even with the stick of Judah, and make them one stick, and they shall be one in mine hand. And the sticks whereon thou writest shall be in thine hand before their eyes. And say unto them, thus saith the Most High Yahweh, behold, I will take the children of Israel from among the heathen, whither they be gone, and will gather them on every side and bring them into their own land. And I will make them one nation in the land upon the mountains of Israel. And one king shall be king to them all, and they shall be no more two nations. Neither shall they be divided into two kingdoms any more at all. Neither shall they defile themselves any more with their idols, nor with their detestable things, nor with any of their transgressions. But I will save them out of all the dwelling places wherein they have sinned, and will cleanse them. So shall they be my people, and I will be their Most High. See, this is prophecy, brothers and sisters. This is going to come to pass. Just as Zechariah come to pass in the scattering, so Ezekiel going to come past. And it's again by the Father's Spirit. Our fathers rejected the Heavenly Father's Spirit, rejected his prophets, rejected Messiah, and we see what happened. And now the Father in his Alpha and Omega wisdom says, at the end, I'm going to put my Spirit on you. You're going to rise up from the dead. I'm going to bring you back together. You're going to be one nation. And we read here in Zechariah. In Zechariah, we read earlier where he said, it's going to be like you were never separated. It's going to be like you were never separated. Okay? So you're going to bring us back together again. It's going to be like we never separate. In fact, we read that last week in verse 6 of chapter 10 of Zechariah. He says, I'll have mercy upon them, and they shall be as though I had not cast them off. See? That's what he's going to do. Praise Yah. In the earth made new. Praise the Most High. And it's starting now. The awakening is the beginning of it, and we praise Yah for it. But now, we got an important part of Zechariah chapter 11 to go through. Notice again, these last three verses, very important. Zechariah chapter 11, from verse 15 to verse 17. After he breaks the brotherhood, which has happened, what happened after that? Zechariah chapter 11, verses 15 to 17. And Yahweh said unto me, take unto thee yet the instruments of a foolish shepherd. For lo, I will raise up a shepherd in the land, which shall not visit those that be cut off, neither shall seek the young one, nor heal that is broken, nor feed that standeth still. But he shall eat the flesh of the fat and tear their claws in pieces. Woe to the idle shepherd that leaveth the flock. The sword shall be upon his arm and upon his right eye. His arm shall be clean dried up, and his right eye shall be utterly darkened. What shepherd did he bring upon the land that scatters the flock? It is the Catholic Church. It is the Roman Catholic Church. We saw that in the book of Revelation. We see it in Daniel chapter 2, chapter 7, chapter 8, chapter 9. Well, chapter 8 anyway. We see it in Daniel chapter 11. We see it all over the place in Revelation and Daniel. the rise of the Catholic Church. And we just read about it in 2 Thessalonians. He's going to bring a shepherd. Let me ask y'all, what does the Pope do for any of y'all? What has he done for any church, any person, any Christian? What has he done? What does he do? He takes. So does all of his whorish churches. I don't care which one you go to, whether it's Jehovah Witness, whether it's Seventh-day Adventist, whether it's Mormon. You know, I heard something about Mormon the other day that I found amazing, even though I know what happened. Okay, last year, this is 2018, apparently, I got this secondhand from a coworker of mine. A Mormon woman hit the lottery, okay? A Mormon woman hit the lottery, right? And when she hit the lottery, I don't know how many millions it was for, but she did not give 10% to the Mormon church. She decided to keep it all for herself. Do you know the Mormon church sued her for 10% of her money? I don't know if they won or not, but they had the nerve to sue her to get part of the money because they said she's supposed to. Yeah, isn't that so? The gall, right? Isn't that amazing? That's the gall of it, brothers and sisters. That's what I want to tell you now. See, that's what I'm saying. So these foolish shepherds take after the whore, the great whore of Rome. All of them take after her. Okay, they all take after her. Now, Castro, you might be right about that. Hey, you might be right about that. You talking about Castro? You talking about verse 8, right? You talking about verse 8 when you ask that question you asking. You talking about verse 8, right? Yeah. I think you're right. I think you're right. Castro is saying possibility that three shepherds are Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. Because look, isn't that when they talk about the major religions on earth, they always mention them three, isn't it right? Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. And they always say, we have a Judeo-Christian ethic. Isn't that true? So yeah, that could very well be. That makes sense. That definitely makes sense. Especially we talking about the end times, which is what Zechariah is talking about. And we know that this foolish shepherd that is raised up at the end is the Roman Catholic Church. Okay, that's the Roman Catholic Church. So Zechariah, again, is a prophet that is talking about the past, the present, and the future. He was raised up with the second building of the second temple, and yet he's given us prophecy that go all the way to our time and past our time, as we're going to see as we continue our study in this very powerful prophetic book. Praise the Most High. Let's have a word of prayer. Most High Yahweh, we're so grateful and thankful